And Amy, I know the focus was on Trump's appearance on Dr. Oz yesterday, but
And on Jimmy Fallon when he got his hair messed up.
yeah, right, important events. But perhaps people should pay more attention to the speech that he gave at the Economic Club of New York with Larry Kudlow right there in the background chaperoning, where Mr. Trump promised 25 million jobs would be created under in a Trump administration. And he also contrasted what he offers in terms of economic vitality as compared to what one Hillary Clinton offers.
The only people who get rich under Hillary Clinton are the donors and the special interests, but bad for our country. In Hillary Clinton's America, we have surrendered our status as the world's great economy, and we have surrendered our middle class to the whims of foreign countries. We take care of them better than we take care of ourselves. Not one single idea she's got will create one net American job or create one new dollar of American wealth for our workers. The only thing she can offer is a welfare check. That's about it. Our plan will produce paychecks, and they're going to be great paychecks for millions of people now unemployed or underemployed.
Well, to help us assess what Trump had to say yesterday, we're now pleased to be joined by one of my favorite, there's two guys that I really enjoy. Three, Brett Baier.
Brett Baier, Charles Krauthammer.
But two guys on Fox Business that I really enjoy watching because I think they're so conversant in so many different topics. Enjoyable interviews, really value-added content. One of them is Neil Cavuto. The other is this gentleman. He is Charles Payne, who you can catch on Fox Business, including on Making Money with Charles Payne, 5 p.m. Chicago time, Monday through Friday. Charles, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the very kind introduction.
Well,
and you're also the best dressed. May I?
Yeah.
Can we have a girlfriend talk here?
I'm breaking out some new glasses today, so I'm going to ask folks to go to Twitter and tell me what they think of them.
All right.
Okay, I'll follow you, and I'll weigh in on that.
I need to get glasses so I can look stylish and intellectual like Charles Payne.
It helps.
All right, so let me ask you this, Charles, to start. Charlie Gasparino, who's a regular guest on your programs as well, he writes in the New York Post that Trump should give the speech he gave yesterday in New York to the Economic Club every day from now to November 8th. Now, that's a bit of a political assessment, but there's an underlying economic rationale, too. What was your assessment of his remarks yesterday?
Listen, I'm a supply sider, which is the technique or the policies under Ronald Reagan. I think they work. I'm a big fan of them, and I think focusing on the economy, obviously, as opposed to some of the other potential landmines out there, makes a lot of sense. I'd probably leave out the welfare part and just sort of focus on the prosperity part and people gaining jobs. And, people don't feel good in this country. People just feel like something is wrong. I disagree. We're still the greatest economy in the world by far, but the world is nipping at our heels like never before. That is true. We had the advantage coming out of World War II. The 1950s was an amazing period for us. Everybody in the world wants what we have. They've looked at our blueprint and to a certain degree to try to replicate it. So that's understandable. So I would give the speech, and I would just kind of keep refining this speech also.
So Trump's bold economic plan would really return us to the 1990s when Bill Clinton was president. He wants to create 25 million jobs and a GDP 3.5%. How will this program get us there?
Well, I think lowering taxes. There's a thing we talk about. Well, we really don't talk about it, but we probably should. It's called velocity of money. And essentially, the kind of way it works in a layman's way, you take $5, you go outside here in New York, you might buy a couple of hot dogs from the hot dog vendor. He's walking down the street, he sees someone selling scarves, he buys a scarf. The person who gets the scarf takes that money, goes to the newspaper stand and buys a couple of magazines. That person at the magazine stand takes that money, walks into McDonald's and gets 2 cheeseburgers. That's velocity of money. That same cash touched a whole lot of hands. It's changed people's lives. There's zero velocity of money. One of the reasons why people are tight-fisted, one of the reasons corporations are tight-fisted too, there's policy right now which if you're a business, you don't want to start a business. There's too many regulations, too high taxes, and just too many hurdles to climb. It's already tough to be in business to begin with, but to actually have to climb this many hurdles and the risk-reward ratio changes on you. The other part, though, is people don't feel like their wages are going up. In fact, they've only just begun to go up. So if you're not making more money, you don't spend more money. Or how about this novel idea? At least let me keep more of what I'm making. And that's the centerpiece of Donald Trump's plan.
Well, and on that point, and as a supply sider like Kudlow and Moore, who are a couple of Trump's economic policy advisors, you've got to like the proposal to reduce the corporate tax rate to 15%.
I do. There's some question marks about how this applies to the small businesses, and I think the camp's going to have to come out and let everyone know, because there were conflicting signs yesterday, because many small businesses file as individuals, not businesses. So if I file as an individual, my taxes might actually be higher than if I filed as a business. So those kind of things have to be cleaned up a little bit. Honestly, to be quite frank with you, I wouldn't have 15% across the board. I'd have 15% for small businesses, and I think 25% is reasonable for large businesses because, again, as someone who's conservative, certainly economically, I worry about the debt. We used to all worry about the debt. We used to all worry about deficits, and it's going to be tough, even with the most incredible supply-side outcome of this plan, to significantly increase the size of the military, not do anything with Social Security, Medicaid, and Medicare, add in this new child care thing, which will become an entitlement, and think that we're not going to have additional debt. So I would have actually kept the large corporations paying 25%, which is significantly better than what they pay now and competitive with the rest of the world.
And the philosophy behind tiering that is you want to incent the entrepreneurial capitalists with major upside growth potential relative to the more staid and larger corporations.
Absolutely. When these kind of plans, if I'm sitting in Hillary Clinton's camp, obviously she's going to say a couple things. And I think Donald Trump admitted as much. The rich will get richer on this plan. Politics of envy come into this. But also, it's also smart. We do need money to run the government. We don't, that's just something that we understand. So, and if we're going to start to layer in even more programs like the 6-week paid vacation, if we're going to start dropping money on inner cities like Detroit, it's got to come from somewhere. And I think that's a fair place for large businesses to be, like the ExxonMobils of the world. But again, having said that, I want the focus to get back on what the true engine of growth is in America, and that's small businesses and business creation. It's near all-time lows right now. We need to incentivize people, because it's in our DNA, to go out there and actually start these businesses, knowing that if they succeed, they'll keep this money and they can grow those businesses without being chopped off at the knees.
So when you heard Donald Trump's economic speech yesterday, do you think he's worried or concerned about reducing the size of government or our national debt?
That's the part I'm just kind of concerned about. Of course, he talks about it, he gives it lip service, but I don't think it's going to happen. I will say this, though. When he initially talked about the plan, we had 3 tax brackets. We had 10, 20, and 25%. Now he's saying 12, 25, and 33%. That means it won't be $10 trillion added to the debt, which was smart. But there's still some refining that can go on, and I do worry about the government becoming sort of a nanny. A year ago, conservatives would have been upset in an uproar about the government paying maternity leave for people for 6 weeks, and I hear some conservatives, the same ones who hated it a year ago, say, well, people, it's not really a credit or a deduction because it's their money. No, if you don't work for 6 weeks, then you really didn't earn anything for 6 weeks unless that's between you and your company. So it's a dangerous path to go down. I know it wins votes, but from an economic point of view, if we're going to add things like increasing the size of the military, if we're not going to cut costs on the biggest entitlement programs, then we do have to have some more discipline in other areas. Yeah,
that's a fair point. I want to run my pet theory about Trump's tax returns by you. Because of all the demagoguing, that there's something nefarious afoot, and we're going to discover this web of unsavory business relationships and so forth. Here's what I suspect. I suspect that as a real estate developer, like a lot of real estate developers, his tax bill was de minimis because of depreciation on the front end and 1031 exchanges on the back end, and he just doesn't want to get Warren Buffetted, essentially.
I think you're right. I think that's probably the biggest thing. And there's some question marks, too. I mean, he does business all around the world. Whatever it is, he's decided it's better to take the ridicule forward and even a couple of lost votes as opposed to putting it out there and letting it become a major issue in the campaign.
All right, he is Charles Payne. The show Making Money with Charles Payne, 5 p.m. Chicago time, Monday through Friday. Charles, pleasure to speak with you as always. Appreciate it.
You too, guys. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Look forward to seeing your new glasses.
Yeah, that's right.
We'll
tweet them. We'll tweet our comments. Yes.
All right. Thanks a lot.
And Charles Payne joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.